Hi, everyone. It is October 19th by some unbelievable movement of time. And today we're doing our spontaneous workshop. We have new people and we have people who have been here a lot. To divvy it up for people, the OG in this space is Sarah. She's been here the longest by far. But Jesse and Randall are close behind. Lori and Everett and Colleen have been coming a lot. So those are our oldest OGs in here. Shelby, Gracie, Allison, you're all new. So I feel like let's just do a quick introduction if that's okay. And then I'm going to talk about what we're doing next week. We're going to dive straight in because we got a lot of people and I want there to be time for people to read their stuff. Oh, so who'd like to introduce themselves? Well, how about OG? Sarah, are you ready? Could you introduce yourself first? And maybe just say your name, where you are, and what you're writing.
My name is Sarah. I am in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and still waiting to see Northern Lights because apparently they don't work for me. Um,
I feel you, girl.
and also waiting for this thing that Randall and Jesse introduced me to called sweet milk
No
Snow
cream.
cream. Snow
cream,
cream.
snow cream. I don't know. I don't remember that. It is milk. Well, it's not really milk. But I plan on turning it yellow and serving it to my friends who don't have manners, so they might not actually drink out of courtesy. Um, but we'll see what happens. And then I'm working on my memoir and have just come up with a completely different direction to take it in. And also working on a fantasy book that the sky's the limit.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Who's next?
I'll go.
Thanks, Ceci.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jessie. I'm in Kentucky. And so a lot of my writing is focused a lot on, I don't know how to say like hillbilly identity. So I finished writing like I guess the first draft of a book, a science fiction book in August, and now I'm letting it do the big rest. So I am turning my attention to an occult horror book that's set in the Appalachian Mountains. That's really fun. I don't know. I'm also like thinking about possibly working on other more quote unquote debutable books because these are all monster length. And I need a short baby to debut with. So yeah, the options are ranging between mostly science fiction and horror. So
Nice.
Did you
yeah.
say that you're dancing as a what?
I'm trying to, so okay, so the more you learn about publishing, the more difficult it appears that it is to do. But, essentially like a lot of agents and publishers don't really want to take too much of a risk when you don't have other like work that's been published bookwise. And so they have these kind of word counts that they would prefer you hit, right? And so for YA, I think the max that they want is around 80,000 words, and for adult, it's
Nope.
around 100,000 words. My book Reboot that I just finished is YA at 100,000 words. And so I'm like, no, she's too long. And the adult book I'm working on now is I really think she's gonna break 100K. So now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finish these for the sake of finishing them, because I'm already in the thought process, but we need to get one that's gonna hit the word limits.
Nice.
So
Nice. So think of it as your short story and go from there.
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Dr. Max's classes are really good at making you like have really concise writing. So I feel like I've carried that spirit into my novel work, but it's still, yeah, yeah. We gonna get there. We're good.
Great. Thanks, Jesse. And Jesse's at the MFA for popular fiction in Emerson, which is cool. She was at SNU
Yeah.
and then applied there. And we hope to gain a lot from what she's learning there.
Currently gaining so much. I'm in a book design course right now and I'm learning how to actually, you know, build a book from, your fonts and your cover design and stuff. So it's super cool.
Super cool. Oh,
Yeah.
I
next.
guess I'll go.
JD, thanks.
My name is JD. I can go by JD. Miss Jennifer, but I go by JD. You can call me whatever. I really don't care. Um, I live currently in South Texas where it's still so hot. It melted my wonderful Halloween stuff. So we're looking to move to Kentucky. We're trying to buy
Really?
a house in Barberville.
Barville? No, okay, it's pronounced Barville, girl. You don't pronounce the middle of it. It's where my dad's family's from. Continue, please.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
I love the mountains. I love the thought of having four seasons because 1 week in January of it being 50 degrees is not winter. Um, but yeah, I'm working on my MFA writing sample. I got my little, see, it's a little crystal ball here with the skeleton in it. Just working on it.
It'll happen.
Um,
Is that
um,
it? What are you writing? What is your writing sample? Tell people.
I like fiction and I like fantasy. That's like my thing. That's what gets me excited is fantasy. Yeah. And oh, my dog you see him, he just took off
There it is.
week and he has this condition with his bladder that he makes like bladder stones. So he's had a second bladder stone removal surgery in 2 years. So
Sorry that's happening to him. That must be painful for him. Yeah. Thanks, JD. Great to know more about you. Who wants to go next?
I can go.
Thanks, Gracie.
My name is Gracie Smith. I live up in the mountains, the Sierra Nevadas, about 2.5 hours into the mountains, right above Sacramento. And I am originally from the Midwest, Kansas and Colorado, and I consider myself a transplant out here. So not all of the things that they believe, I believe, but whatever. It's cool. Um, I am a indie author. I'm on my third novel of being published. I am also a fifth grade teacher, so that's fun. And honestly, I go back and forth between schooling and like the master classes. I'm like, I have a hard time with the institution telling me what I should take in order to better my knowledge, and I'm like, oh, it gets so frustrating. But yeah, it's been okay. Not too shabby. Linguistics was the bane of my existence until I had lit theory, and then that became the bane of my existence. And
Dang.
then it yeah, so just one thing at a time. Uh for this class, I have no clue what I'm gonna work on because short stories are extremely difficult to me. I'm a little bit wordy. Um, but my third novel is in the process. Like I have like the idea of it, but it hasn't quite come through my soul yet. So it's about a girl who is created for universal destruction and has to hide her soul among human history.
Oh, that sounds really
Cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we'll help you write short. That's something we do in 529.
Sweet.
And it will not be as torturous as 550 or 500.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Okay, who's next?
I can go next.
Thanks, Everett.
Yeah. So I'm Everett. I'm from New Hampshire, and actually I'm working on my capstone right now. And I'm actually working on a middle grade feline mystery,
Fun.
where the feline is actually the main character, and it's actually based on Gus Gus, if you guys know who Gus Gus
Yes.
is at that point. So, yeah, he's a little feline Sherlock Holmes, we'll put it that way. But yeah,
He's awesome. Thanks, Everett.
you're welcome.
Who's next?
I can do it. Um,
Colleen can do it.
I can do it. All right.
Good.
I'm Colleen. I did take 529. It was amazing. So no worries. You're gonna be fine, Gracie. It'll be great. Yeah. I surprised myself in that class. I will say I came out with a really solid piece that I didn't think at the beginning that I would be able to do. So it's very cool. I am excited for what is this one? 532? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Setting in
Great, great,
place.
great. Very excited about that. Um, and I live in Wisconsin, where we do have four seasons, and I'm refusing to turn the heat on for a few days here because the high is going to be like 70. I think tomorrow it's supposed to be like 76, but it's still dropping to like 42, 30 at night. So it's a little chilly in the house right now. But I'm refusing to do anything about it. What else? And I'm writing some speculative pieces, and I have in the back drawer, I have a memoir that I would like to write about my father's last year. But it needs some time.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. My goodness. Colleen has a good interview-ish thing up with Snoozing, which is a literary journal that Jesse and Randall and two other people who aren't in this group right now, but often come run. So if you haven't heard of that, Randall or Jesse, can you throw the link to it in the chat, please?
Their blogs are amazing, very well written,
Amazing, amazing. Good
super,
resources for
super
class too.
informative,
Yeah.
very good. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm happy to hear that I can use that.
I I'm like spread the word because they're so well
Yeah.
written. Absolutely
Yeah.
should use it in class. I'm excited for you to do that. And they are open for submissions right now through the rest of the month of October. So
May or
be
may not be working on a small piece for that.
Please
yeah.
do. We'd love to see it.
I have a
I am very
concept. We'll
proud.
see. I
Oh,
know what
I'm
I
very
want
proud
to
to have
do.
been.
Yeah.
I'm very proud to have been part of their inaugural issue. So do check it out. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
excellent.
this is a dream edition, so less horror and more happiness, and it's Cosmos themed. So anything that involves stars, even if the stars are like in a lake. Am I right?
Yeah, your take on Cosmos, anything that, I mean, if you can make it make sense, really. If I can sit here and justify this is related to the cosmos in some way, then we're solid. It doesn't have to be like set in space, but
Yeah.
space should appear, you know.
Should inform your piece.
Yeah, in some way.
Yes, yes, nice. Yes, great, Colleen. Thank you. So I think, and this is, I'm famous for being awful at this, but I think we have Randall, Lori, Shelby, and Allison left. And I do want to say, like, if you don't feel like talking or anything like that, you're more than welcome to either throw something in the chat or just say you don't want to.
I can go next. Hi, I'm Shelby. I do have my 2-year-old wandering around, so if you guys hear something, that's just him. I live in Florida. I am currently in the thesis portion of my degree now, and I also have. I'm notorious for writing novels and then sitting on them. So I have two, and I'm a fantasy writer. I typically kind of veer toward not dark fantasy, but more like moral ambiguity, things of that nature.
Randall's applauding you.
So yeah, I do. I have two of those. I'm trying to trim them down because one of them does get a little bit wordy. But I try to stay around 80 to, at 100,000 is where I want to be, but one of them is like 120, so I'm trying to cut it back. But yeah, so after I finish my degree, I'll be, working on navigating the world of publishing and querying and all that fun stuff that is a bit of a mystery, but I'm excited to get started on it. So.
Randall, Kirsten, who's not here, and I were at a retreat last weekend. That's really great for that kind of stuff. Would you say, Randall?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the best place to find knowledge for that. If you get an opportunity to go to a retreat that relates to publishing, do not pass the opportunity. Even if you're not ready right now, if you have the opportunity, then go for it because you're going to get knowledge and insight that you will never get from sitting on Google. You can sit for hours trying to figure it out, and you'll learn more in 30 minutes with somebody who's
Yep.
actually in that game. So,
Yeah. And Shelby, yours is not the first 2 year old to join into the conversation. More than welcome. We love the more the merrier.
Thank you. Thank you.
Babies and pets are welcome here.
Yes, absolutely. I think JD has a healer. No? Oh, okay. It looks so much like my dog, so I was sure it was a healer.
American Bully, and
Ah,
got one blue eye, one brown eye, and he's actually part of the Gotti line of American Bullies. Like he's got all these papers, and we were going to stud him out and do all this stuff. And then when we found out they had this health condition, we went ahead and got him neutered because we don't want
okay.
to pass it on as genetic. So,
Fair
but
enough.
he's a pocket bully. He's smaller.
Ah,
Yeah, a lot of
nice.
people think he looks like a Dalmatian.
Ah, yeah. Well, Dalmatian is part of what makes up the healer breed too, so maybe that's why I thought that. Cool. Okay, so Allison, I see that you came up and we see your face and you're unmuted. Are you interested in going?
Yeah, okay. So, I have a very weird, wide, eclectic background that, it's just a lot of things and a lot of variation that, I never stop learning, never stop analyzing. So in life, to pay the bills, I took that talent and I do finance, accounting, businesses, organizational behavior and change, that kind of stuff, because I have a forensic psych background and it's just constantly analyzing. So I'm a forensics auditor and went through the like dual MBAs, that kind of stuff, and said, well, look, I can go PhD that, but I don't want to be in business anymore. I'm a Gen X. I've been doing this for 20 some years. I'm tired and I miss my art. I grew up doing art, music, writing contests. I was always in something in writing. I had friends for a while. The Romantic Times magazine, when it was in its heyday, Catherine and I was friends with, and so did a lot of her conventions. So back to the whole convention thing, if you have an opportunity to go to a convention, absolutely. It's the coolest thing you'll ever go to and meet what's behind the scenes, right? And we used to put those on. Um, Personally, we were born and raised in Chicagoland, but moved down to Texas in 2015, got out of Illinois, and I bred gypsy horses for years on the side and have like a lot of side businesses, designing, marketing, things like that. But I retired from a lot of that and was finally able to bring them home. We moved to Weatherford last year, so I get to look outside my window when I work, and there they are. So I have just my matriarch and a companion to keep her busy. I've got my barn cat, so I'm surrounded the animal aspect. They're here. I've got multiple inside. They sit in the drawer next to me. I go outside. The cats follow me around outside. So I'm constantly surrounded and calmed down by that aspect because work life is so crazy. And I'm trying to get away from all that stress and burnout and get to writing. And so on that side of things, Gen X, I grew up with the Stephen King problem, right? So I grew up fifth and sixth grade starting at Stephen King early and Michael Crichton and all that. I love sci-fi apocalyptic things, but not the humans at each other, the robo-apocalypse AI stuff, but gothic horror, but not the tear them apart, rip them apart, bloody horror. Supernatural, the uncanny, Freud. That's the psych background, right? I love the things that mess with your mind. I think somebody, I got to respond to his thing, was talking about when they redid House on Haunted Hill and that kind of stuff. Yeah, Haunting a Hill House. That's what's
Yeah.
a lot of good stuff, Poe and all that kind of thing. So the stories I'm writing, I've always got several in the hopper. I think somebody said they're notorious for, kind of writing it and then walking away and never finishing it. I do a lot of that in my brain. I can write and see the entire thing. I'll even get some notes down. Maybe I'll flesh it out and then I just kind of stop. So I kind of need to be forced to write, forced to say, and that's why the first two classes were excellent. It's like, here's an assignment, write a story about this. Okay, I can make lightning in a bottle and I go. But if you don't make me do that, I'm like, oh, I made it up in my head. I never put it down anywhere. So it's a little bit of a problem. I also don't have time. That's another thing too. Hence why I talk fast all the time. So I'm constantly studying. Robert McKee is one of my absolute favorite and I've read and reread his stuff, or Snowflake Method. And so again, analysis, right? I'm always analyzing film and story and I know how to do it all. It's making myself sit down and do it. And so that's why I took a track back and said, we're doing this MA and I'm going to sit down and we're going to go through it meticulously and learn, and I'm going to be forced to do it. And I'm going to change my life and not have to do that all the time. So yeah. But that's kind of me in a nutshell. So it's a wide variety of weird, eclectic stuff.
That's great. Okay, well, so Allison, that's amazing. And I have horses and mules too. I think you know that
I
from my
saw.
introduction. So I
Yeah.
just love
Yeah.
hearing about your gypsies. They are the most beautiful horses. Oh, just
I
incredible.
spent a lot of years breeding and involved in the registry, bringing them over. And then what do Americans do? Ruin every single breed. So it's
Yeah,
like you kind of,
yeah,
I just couldn't do it anymore. But I had gypsy friends to begin with that are like Rom people and speaking the language and that stuff. So for me, the horse kind of came after, whereas a lot of people saw money in the horse and corrupted it. And so that's
yeah.
a whole other, like I said,
That's
wide,
a
weird
novel right there.
variety.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, so we have Lori and Randall left. I see that Lori is wearing artwork by one of our normal regulars,
Oh yeah.
Suzanne, that has to do with the book you're
Mhm.
working on.
Ta-da! Raining cats and dogs.
You
I'm working
spoke.
on.
Keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just working on two kids' books. I'm new to writing. I'm in my seventh course, and I hadn't done any writing before starting this, so it's all really fun to me. Um, I don't know. Jesse writes about Kentucky hillbillies, and I'm a Canadian hillbilly, but I'm living in New Hampshire now. And I love it. It's taken me a long time, but I love this whole program and writing and everything. I hope to do more. I love these Saturday sessions.
Thanks. Thanks, Lori. Okay, Randall, as usual, you're going last.
What I do, right? Okay, so I write. I'm almost done with my MFA program. I write epic fantasy, and that ranges in the spectrum from dark fantasy, like I go from war crimes to love stories. It's dark fantasy and cozy love fantasy. I write everything in between. I also do a lot of horror, comedy. I also work on Appalachian stuff because I'm from Tennessee. I'm a Tennessee hillbilly, and Jesse and I are working on collaborative stuff that involves Tennessee and Kentucky hillbillies. So,
Yeah.
all kinds of hillbillies around here. But yeah, that's what I'm writing. I've got two novels out with agents right now, trying to get an agent to take me on, and we'll see what happens from there. So.
Awesome. Yeah, and I asked, oh no, Jesse, will you put it in for
Ah,
everybody? I
sorry, I
asked,
didn't. I'll
no,
do it.
no,
I'll do it. Give me a
it
second.
just happens. I asked Jesse to put the Discord in because JD mentioned YRI. So like we're sort of anti NaNoWriMo for several reasons, things that happen with the organization that are not appropriate. And then also they're coming out in support of AI, which is tough for writers. So Randall and Jesse have started this amazing Discord that has so much like just energy and it's very writing focused. And so if you're interested in like participating in YRI, it's the winter writing session. And either Randall or Jesse, can you tell a little more about that?
Yeah, okay. So, I guess in the shortest, Nano was never very good about meeting you where you were at in your writing journey. You very much had to be ready for their specific tasks. And since we have an opportunity to kind of rewrite the way we do this like organized writing challenge, we wanted to make something that really fits more so what you're ready to do, whether that's outlining a novel or writing it or revising it. And so we're going to be hosting sessions for throughout November, December, and January, where the focus really is about you setting your personal writing goals for those 3 months and us doing everything we can really to help make sure that you meet that. So we have, these Saturday sessions, we have 1 week with Max, and then the next week we have Suze, who's not here today, usually will run those where it's all about generative writing and trying to get words down, maybe get ideas fleshed out or just began. And then Randall and I every Thursday evening run workshops that are a little more based on like technique and technical aspects of writing, whether that's about like bringing your protagonist to the front, making sure that your antagonist is like a good foil or whatever it is. We do that. And so throughout winter writing, all of these sessions that we typically do are going to be a little more focused on either helping you figure out how to outline. We're planning a series of workshops about like really giving good feedback, what it is you should be looking for in the different stages of feedback and how to, be helpful and reciprocal to each other. Randall, what am I missing?
I don't know. You did a pretty good job. Sounds like I think
Okay,
you covered
thanks.
about everything.
Cool.
Great. And it's important to notice like their energy is related to snoozing. So definitely be reading the blogs and reading what they're saying about genre. Like all of it is such great information. I'm so impressed by what you guys have created and are doing. So if you want to be part of an amazing writing community, I really recommend you head over there. Wow. Okay, so that took a half an hour. I'm going to be very brief. English 532 next week is module two. You're going to do a discussion on The Shining. And it gets a little weird. They're like wanting you to quote from the book and stuff. The material that you have is all available to you in the reading resources. Nobody's expecting you to go beyond what's been provided to you in the reading resources. So if you get a little bit confused, just pay attention to the reading resources and use them. Of course, for things like craft and everything, you're always welcome to go outside of that. As you know, I am viciously hardcore, and this goes for 529 as well, about using outside expert resources. Look at JD just laughing. You nailed it this week, JD. So, and the reason I am is that when we write, we're always writing in a community, and there's always a conversation that's happening about craft and how we do it. And if, in order for you to remain relevant and in order for you to be the best author you can, you should be constantly seeing what other people are saying about what you're trying to do. And I know that Randall and Jesse for sure would back me up on this. There is just an essential component of remaining in that conversation that I'm trying to create. So I'm giving you this technical, I've given you my discussion board expectations, and it's very technical, like check this box, but I'm asking you to check the box for the same reasons that you get frustrated, Gracie, by, the system of the oppressive system of expectations, but mine is very much designed to be part of what it takes to be a writer. And Randall, Jesse, do you agree? I know you
Oh,
do.
100%.
yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So how am I not wording it? Oh, I did actually didn't I put up an announcement that's already gone up about, yeah, about why
Yeah.
experts in your writing. And I think it helps explain it a lot. So I do want to emphasize for both classes, my announcements are essential to the fine tuning of succeeding. You can earn like a solid A in my class, by just reading my announcements. But if you pay close attention to them, I give very specific directions. Like, um, well, I'm going to finish with 532 and then I'll go to 529. But please always read my announcements because the courses are created by an expert course designer. I am implementing the courses, and therefore my announcements are the place to say, this is the way I'm reading this expectation, and here is how I want you to accomplish it. If you're not reading that, then you'll lose silly points. And what's the point of that? And the way that I administer the course is with my whole heart intended to make you a better writer. That's the only thing it's about. I'm not trying to trip you up. I'm not trying to find places to take points off. I'm trying to help you develop habits that will, follow you for your lifetime. The second assignment in 532 is writing a very short piece. It could be fiction, nonfiction, poetry, screenplay, and then they say, etc. I'm not sure what else there is, but usually it's one of these four things that shows up. And for anybody writing prose, you should aim for 800 to 1,000 words. This course is a little inconsistent in that when it describes assignments, it doesn't always give a word count for the prose writers, or it might say a minimum of 1,000 words. Please check my announcements because everybody else has limitations. I make sure that I am mean, Sarah. I make sure that everybody has, like kind of boundaries to be working within because the course designer was a little bit inconsistent in creating the assignment. So pay attention to that. And then this is about nostalgia. So, the sense of smell, music, these are things that really bring you into like vivid nostalgia. So be sure that you're using setting, of course, but also using your sensory details to get there. Yes, Everett, I do have graduate expectations. Thank you. And that's why for 529, sorry that post was up there twice. And for 532, I just posted the thing about graduate expectations because I put it in 529 twice because I'm losing my mind. I do really think that, you're paying to be in a graduate course. I have taken so much graduate education. It's insane. And so I'm just asking you to meet the minimum standards of what was expected in the programs I was in. For 529, you have a discussion on Margaret Atwood's Happy Endings and Kurt Vonnegut's Harrison Bergeron. Both of these are just amazing stories. But be sure you are breaking down that discussion board. It asks you which conflict you find more engaging, and that's between happy endings and Harrison Bergeron, and then asks you about fleshing out details of a plot line as Vonnegut's story does, changing the way you perceive the actions and characters. Answer that, please. And then you're supposed to have picked like one of Atwood's happy endings and compare it with Vonnegut's story. So just be sure you follow all these things. And then for everybody, the discussion board second paragraph is almost always going to be telling you exactly what you should be doing when you engage your peers. So please just pay attention to that. In this case, be sure that you address the how and why, right? And then for the three short story scenes, oh, do you have a question, JD? No. Yeah.
I just want to say the book for 532 is absolutely amazing. I found last week's reading so helpful in my writing, just the five senses and talking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. And when I got the 532 book, thanks to Sarah, who made me ask if I could teach 532, and now I regularly do. That book is great. If you are struggling at all with using sensory detail, with how to use setting, I really like the book. It's not as maybe sophisticated seeming in its appearance, but it's great. It's really great. For
I
the
was
three
very
short,
jazzed by the guy from Sheboygan added because I'm from Wisconsin and Sheboygan's just a little bit up north.
that's
I
awesome. I
didn't
did
know how to
not know how.
pronounce that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in
This
Wisconsin.
guy from
Sheboygan's
something.
just a little bit north of us, from where I am here, and so I got a real kick out of that. I was like, oh, why that way? But okay.
Okay.
I didn't know how to pronounce that, so a lot of the times I just like
Allison, that is the book.
go over
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sheboygan.
Yeah.
Sheboygan.
I was taking like the Canadian. I was like, Siobhan? I was like, no, that's not Siobhan.
No, because it's actually Native American, and most Native American tongues are phonetically spelled because they didn't have at the time they were sort of transposed a actual written language that you could translate. So usually you pronounce almost every letter, but colloquially, of course, that always changes. So.
Okay, now I know how to pronounce it, and I'm not just going to go over it with a bunch of letters.
Awesome. And now I know how to pronounce it too. The three short story scenes, I give pretty, really actually explicitly direct directions in the announcement on how to do this. And I even create a little table and stuff. And then I have this bright red that says, please do not reuse work. And this is true throughout SNU, no matter where you are. If you have turned in that work, it's going to match up and say that you are self-plagiarizing. So just be sure that you're using new work that has not been submitted into the Brightspace system. And then I tell you what order I want it in. I like to read the scene first because I don't want to know the summary because I want to get the impact of your writing first. That may not read exactly like the course, so please look at that. And remember, it's just a one paragraph summary and a one page opening at the most. Definitely do not go beyond the page. You should only be a paragraph or two in the opening scene. And it's really just for us to get a feel for what you're creating and then give you our advice on what we think you should write, except for me. uh, I feel like I don't weigh in very hard when I grade your session. I just tell you what I'm liking about them. Sometimes I'll give up and say this is my favorite, but I don't want to be too much influence on what you write. So just keep in mind that whatever you feel the most passionate about is what you should be writing about in English 529. Absolutely. Yeah, Colleen.
Question. I just want to verify. So I did read through the stuff for the Shining piece, and I did just like glance over the description for the discussion board. And yeah, it does say the novel. We are not required to read the novel. Is that correct? I don't have to go out and find it.
1000% not required to read the novel.
Great, great, great. I was like, wait a minute, you didn't say that anywhere.
And that's exactly, I was being a little oblique, but that's exactly the problem that people run into when they read the discussion board. I think that
Yeah.
there is just this basic assumption that you would have read it because of Gen Xers and Stephen King, right?
I mean,
So yeah,
I'm in the
I was a
middle of
wuss when I was a kid.
I did read it a million years ago, and it terrified me so bad I'll never read it again. So I'm super. I think it's just horrible that we have to focus on it.
I was gonna say I'm still a wuss, so it's okay.
I'm
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Thanks. I
halfway through it
appreciate
right
that.
now, and when I didn't see the book, I was like, well, we're not reading the book. That's sad. We're just going to focus on Kubrick's film. And it's like, that's not one of King's favorite adaptations of his novel. It's like one of his,
Is it not?
it's like the one that he hates the most.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That's so cool. Thanks for
But it's
sharing
also
that.
kind of amazing and it does some things that maybe King didn't intend. And it's worth thinking about as an author because you lose your control when you sign for film rights almost
Promotion
always.
review is hilarious.
Yes, it's really funny.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
okay, wow. We have taken so long and it is time for us to do what we do. What we do in these spontaneous writing sessions is I'll have come up with some kind of flash fiction or a poem or something that should be inspirational to us. And then we will read it out loud, very briefly discuss it because we are so out of time this morning. And then we will have a prompt. You'll get 6 minutes to do writing on the prompt. I'll let you know when there's a minute left so you can wrap things up. And if you feel like it, you can read back what you got. We have a lot of people. So I'm like, if you're at all inclined not to this weekend, maybe we won't, who knows. But you're all also welcome to do it. And we can just always, whoever needs to drop off when the time is up can drop off. I don't have another obligation for another hour and a half or so. So after what we're doing, so it'll be fine. So that's how that goes. I do recommend, I think I put this in the email, that if you can write by hand, even though it's hard to read your handwriting, it does engage both hemispheres of your brain. And so it'll change the way that you are creative in a really important way. Yes, I compose almost all my work on a keyboard, but I will usually begin by hand to try to get those things stimulated. And in these 6 minute ones, that's really kind of great. It'll shut down your inner editor to do this kind of thing. And that's super great because that person's always telling us what to do, and we should just tell them to shut up most of the time. And in this, inner editor, both hemispheres of the brain, help me out. Oh, if you don't know what to do, and I just wanted to say this all before we get going, just start writing the same sentence over again, like, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, or even if it's shorter, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And your brain will get pissed off at you and you will find something to write. It has not failed anybody yet. And I've been doing this method for easily 10 years. So I think it works. Y'all who are my original gangsters, what am I forgetting before we get going?
It's brilliant always.
Right. No
That
excuses.
I
yeah.
can't believe I forgot that. So when in this writing retreat we were at, I taught about flash fiction and we did one. And the little catchphrase, it's brilliant, caught on in the retreat. People were saying it made my heart so warm. When we get ready to read our stuff, we always want to make excuses like it's not very good. Well, my God, you only had 6 minutes to do it. And the people who have been doing this do have a better 6 minute muscle. It's like something that you can get in shape for, and you get better and better at writing in this short space, which is really great for English 532 that has a lot of short writing in it. So yeah, of course it's not your best work. So instead of all the excuses you want to make, the only way you're allowed to intro your work is to say it's brilliant, but you can intone it however you want. So you can be like, oh, it's brilliant, or you can be like, huh, it actually is brilliant.
I will
So
say it's pretty normal to like freak out for the first 30 seconds
yeah.
and then be like, okay, I know what I'm writing now, because that's what happened to me for like the first couple of sessions. And then it
Yeah.
just kind of I got used to it. So
Yeah. I'm going to share screen because I think it's a little too long to put in the chat, and I usually just put it in the chat. Why is it half of the thing? Hold on. I'm going to stop share just long enough to make sure that this is actually in the full screen. I split my screen all the time to grade, and that's what's going on. Okay, hold on. I'll be back. Oh, but then you can read the one. Hold on. I got to make it bigger. There we go. All right. We can share screen again and we'll get going on this. And does anybody want to volunteer to read while I'm figuring out share screen?
I'll do it.
Thank you, Jesse. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And Catherine Culpa is the flash editor at Cleaver magazine, and the premise behind Gooseberry Pie as a journal online is that it's 6 sentences. So what you read now is going to be 6 sentences. Take it away, Jesse.
Interesting. All right. This is Acrophobia by Catherine Kolpa. That time you hung, frozen, at the top of the giant water slide between the monster mansion and the funnel cake stand, queasy with the smell of chlorine and fried dough. Such a long, undulating ride down. Stop holding up the line, your mother scolded, and grim-faced carried you back down the ladder. All those metal steps when all you really needed was a push. That time on your honeymoon skydiving? This will cure your fear, he said. And all the way up you thought of birds, the friendly flutter of cedar wax wings, double Dutch loopings of starlings, the dead stillness of hawks riding air currents, trusting the wind to carry them. If they could do it, why not you? But still, your legs trembled. Still, your stomach bucked. And you only took the jump when he gave you a push. And this time, this perfect blue stillness of a September day, one leg out the window, one hand clutching the ledge, trying to keep your eyes on the clouds in the distance and not the haze of smoke between you and anything else. Not the columns of vermilion flames shooting from windows below you, not the breaking glass, not the sirens, not the screams, only that window of blue, the cool air raptors could ride. So why not you? And when the stranger from the office next door offers you his shaking hand, you take it. You promise not to let go, thinking that maybe this time you will be the one to give someone else a push.
Nice. Thank you, Jesse.
Yes.
Okay, so at this part we go, what do we love? What stands out in this? What are the things that really caught you and brought you into the piece?
I'd say the stop holding up the line because
Yeah.
I think it was just because of the volume that Jesse used, but the rest of the piece just seems really quiet and pretty easy to get through. And then all of a sudden, this mother's screaming at you, and you're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Um,
Yeah, and Sarah just noted too, right, Everett, that is really great. And Sarah noticed that this is in the second person POV, right?
Hmm.
And what does that do for us as readers?
it just puts you right in the story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
places
right in there.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a first
Yes,
person.
Sarah, it's snack bus.
I'm a first line person, and I love immersive writing, which is why sometimes I wax long, but I can cut it short if I need to. But it's that crisp writing of that funnel cake stand, especially being Midwest and fall, and we know what
Yeah.
that smell is with that chlorine and the fried dough. It smells good, but it's not an oh my gosh. That puts you in the moment and it grabs you
Yeah.
right at that first line.
Yeah. Yeah. And notice that smell. I
It's
mean,
queasy. It's not just the smell of chlorine, it's the queasy smell of chlorine. That's
exactly.
And fried dough.
Yeah.
The
subtle.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metal
Yeah.
step.
Really nice. Yeah. Yeah, and first lines in Flash are almost as essential as last lines. So, or equally essential, right? Okay, anything else that we love? And then, oh, all the S's, Sarah. I like that. I hadn't really noticed that, but yes. Nice. Anything
Alliteration.
else that was just so gripping to you? Because I really think this was, I read it and said, this is going in. We're doing this one because it's just amazing.
I found the juxtapositions of each paragraph is like a really separate experience
Yes.
tied together by the fear. And you don't know where you're going at the beginning. I mean, my contingent reality was right there. I've been there. I've been the person who was like, maybe I should just walk the rest of the way back down these stairs. No thanks. And so I was very much there. And then to find out where we are at the end,
Yeah.
um, that
Yeah.
was really powerful.
Yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
created a narrative arc, right? That it
Yeah.
built upon itself. And this character changes from the beginning to the end of this piece, which is really important. And I wanted to point out, Colleen used this term that I bring to the class. It's from my colleague, Tom Vargish, contingent reality. And that's just to say that the reality of all of us here in this moment experiencing like this screen and this conversation bring our past. We bring like our reality is contingent on what we have that brought us to this moment. And so for Colleen, who's been to Midwest fairs, and Allison too, clearly from the chlorine and fried dough, we bring these experiences. I was standing in the Grace Harbor County Fair when I read that about the fried dough because, fry bread was such an important part of our fair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that juxtaposition, and I love stories like this, and I tend to write like this too, of that twist where you're set up in a almost comfortable feeling, as much as it's uncomfortable
Yeah.
going down the line, the slide, and your mother yelling at you, this and that. It's comfort, it's nostalgia. You're talking about nostalgia, and then all of a sudden you get that twist of taking that situation, and the perspective is something completely different when you're standing on a ledge talking about suicide, right? That's what we're talking about here and what it's alluding to. And it's a complete flip. And I love that moment of you're comfortable, even though you're uncomfortable, but now you're uncomfortable more so, and it's for a completely different reason, and you get it, right? And that's life. It's a really good short planned story.
Yeah. And
I don't think
what's
it's
it?
suicide though.
Yeah, I was
I
going to
think
say,
it's
what's another
September
Yeah,
way to
it's
11th.
read that?
9/11, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be when I was reading it. I was like, oh
I
no.
thought it was too. I thought it was going to be suicide, but I think it's September 11th.
Oh yeah, with the fire
Yeah.
below and everything. So
The
that's what I
fire
didn't get
below,
about the
and
push. It's like
Yeah,
you're
I
pushing
immediately
someone,
went.
but you're all gonna die. Like
I
It could
broke
didn't.
be
my
I didn't
heart.
catch it. I
it's
didn't
an
catch
either
it
one
until
thing.
they.
Was there a
Pardon?
fair going on that day?
Was there
No,
what?
no. There are three different experiences. There's the fair when she's
Oh,
Yeah,
that. Well, there's
sorry.
the water park when she's young. Then there's the time on her honeymoon when
Yeah,
she's whatever age you
yeah.
are when you're
I'm
honeymoon.
sorry. My brain was like, how are
That's
you
all
going to
right.
connect all of that to September 11th? You can't.
I
So,
Mhm.
didn't. So these are the lines. So they're the first line in that paragraph. At
yeah,
this time, the perfect blue stillness of a September day. But
yeah.
I did not get it
That's
until
so
she says,
between.
and the stranger from the office next door offers you his shaking hand and you take it. That was what connected it for me. I was like, oh, this is an office building. We're all jumping out the window
Yeah,
and we're high up because she's talking about the big
right.
birds that can ride these the waves of air and so that said we must be at the Twin Towers.
Yeah, but I got it
Mhm.
on the smoke and the vermilion flames. Something's on fire. But see, the whole point
Yep,
is you're being forced in, and anybody in that September, you have to choose to either die in the flames or commit
yep.
suicide. You're jumping. You are making the act and making the choice, right?
Oh,
And it's
that's
a
fair.
different
It's not about survival.
you got
Yeah,
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Well,
I
it's
think
yeah,
a
go
form of
into it.
survival, and I do
Exactly.
think it's fair to say that it's not if there is such a thing, it's not traditional suicide.
Yeah,
It's forced
yeah.
suicide, which is a little bit different. Which makes
Eh,
JD's chat comment, it makes me want fall so bad. Like if there's one more word, that would really be ironic. But okay, so we normally will have written our first time by now, but we were doing introductions and a lot of the things. So let's get going with the prompt, okay? Because this gives us a lot to think about. And so I want you to think about what was something that used to be difficult for you that you now can do, even if it might still be difficult, because heights are still difficult for this person. But overcoming fears is liberating, even if you don't fully overcome them. Like I have a million examples for me. So imagine how overcoming this challenge could be really important. And I wrote, such as Culpa's character saving a life. And what I mean is that obviously the discussion we had, I get it, but I meant that they are making this choice together. Like you're saving a life to say, here we go, right? I'm with you and I'm doing this together. It's different than the single people falling out of the building, right? Yeah, making that choice. Hold on. I need to. Sarah, I'll just email it to Sue's, no problem. Okay. So I'm going to leave this up on the screen for you, and I'm going to set my clock for 6 minutes. At the 5 minute point, I will let you know when you have a minute left, and you'll try to wrap things up. And I'm going to be pretty strict about getting going right when the 6 minutes is up because we're really short on time today. Okay. On your marks, get set, right. You have about a minute left. All right, that's it. Try to wrap things up. How did it go? And I mute everybody when we read, so if you're muted, that's because I did that to you. I hate everybody equally while we're writing. So, yeah. All right, who wants to kick us off?
I can.
Thanks.
Yep. Just pick up the damn phone, make the appointment. You have no problem picking up the phone. The comforting dial tone um, fills your ear. You dial the number, your doctor's office, hoping no one will pick up the phone. Pick up, pick up. Then you hear the dreaded hello. You freeze for a second, your heart racing as you open your mouth to say, "Hi, I'd like to make an appointment." The voice fades and you don't know how you did it, but within a few minutes, you hang up the phone and look at a date scribbled on the paper, 12:15. Your heart's still racing from the adrenaline. Now you can call with the ease and swiftness of a spring breeze when it used to be difficult for you.
I love it. I mean, as somebody who hates making phone calls, my contingent reality was right there with your character.
Oh, me same, very much. Yes.
Actually, this is
Oh,
what I would go through every time. I'd like ask my mother, "Can you make the phone call? Can you make the appointment?" She goes, "You're an adult. Do it yourself." I'm like, "I can't." So,
And I didn't mention, but often we will just type in the chat or whatever if something is standing out to us. So you can see in there that a couple of us liked comforting dial tone because it was weird that that would be comforting for me, but
yes,
also loved it.
yes.
Yeah. What else, everybody?
I
What do
like
you
the
think
idea
of?
you don't know how you did it because it kind of it implies that like we look back and we remember a time when something was difficult that's not anymore, and it's almost hard to put your finger on when that changed.
Hmm.
So
Nice.
I think I just put my adult boots on and I was like, "All right, you just got to do it." And ripped the band-aid off and then that's how that happened. So,
But the cool detail about the voice fades and you look down and there's a date on the paper, like that whole part is blank because that was the anxiety part. That's really neat.
Hmm.
Yeah. Good job, Everett. Thank you. And I'm being a little brief. Sometimes we talk longer, but we got a lot of us. And if everybody wants to read, you can. So who's next?
I'll go.
Thanks, Randall.
There's a warped portal in my house that leads to the land of a gargoyle. He is twisted and grotesque, and he ruthlessly defends his domain from intrusion. He meets me each time I find his shining portal, afraid to meet my eyes as I am afraid to meet his. Usually we pass one another without comment, but he patrols by each time I arrive, just to be sure. When I do stop and make the mistake of looking, he meets my gaze, and his brow twists in disgust. He hurls insults in an attempt to drive me away, and he is cruel, worthless, disgusting. You fat piece of shit. Yet time passes, and things change. New eyes reveal the hurt and the desperate new effort to heal. I meet his eyes and we share a moment of shared understanding as I see him in a new light, as he really is. For the first time, I am able to find the words I've chased through the desert for decades. I love you.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow. Okay. What'd we love? And I see Gracie's asking and see your shadow.
So I see it as a reflection in a mirror.
Yeah, same.
Oh.
Ooh.
I have the same
Oh.
reflection, Randall. Yeah, that's, I hope to someday be that character. That would be amazing.
I, I love it so much. And of course, I'm going to say keep working on it and send it out because it's
Yeah.
so relevant. I'll have days that I'll walk out of the house with like makeup down my face because I don't look in the mirror, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Any favorite parts?
Oh, how at first you and the gargoyle avert each other's eyes, but then later it's not when you look at him and he looks at you, then the insults come out. It's like, wow.
Yeah. And the portal, I loved that it was a portal. Like that started me in a place that of unsurety, I guess.
Yeah. And the really cool thing was the new eyes. It was so clear that each
Mhm.
character had new eyes in that moment, which is why I should have realized it was a mirror. But but each the gargoyle and the character on the other side of the mirror, each one is making choices, and that's pretty great. Like if because if your eyes change, his does too, right? I've chased through the desert for decades. Lovely alliteration. Really nice. Randall, thanks for blowing us away as usual.
Yeah.
So good.
And so realistic. I was waiting to be in another world and we weren't.
And
Who's
I
Handwritten.
think it's pretty neat because that's pretty much how our existence goes. We have our ideas of a child and we can do absolutely anything. And then we get that little taste of reality that flips our world completely upside down. And then we see ourselves through other people's perceptions. And it's warped and it's nasty and it's dirty. And it's not until we see ourselves through our own eyes that it we were able to be okay with ourselves.
nice? Yeah, really nice. Okay, who's next?
I can go next.
Thanks,
And again,
Shelby.
2-year-old callers just
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah. 2-year-olds always welcome.
So okay. It lurks at the edge of the hallway as I stand at the bottom of the stairs. My heart pounds and I stare up at the blackness that swallows the second story. The hallway between me and my bed feels endless. Every night I count to 3 and then I run. My feet pound against the carpet, my arms pump as it chases me, breathing down my neck. Always one step away from grabbing me before I throw myself onto the bed. I dive under the covers, breathless, as the scent of our laundry detergent soothes me. Now, as I close the door to my son's room, I wander down the dark hallway. My steps barely falter before I reach my bed. There.
She's diving under covers for a different reason, right?
Yes, exactly. I know, and I struggle to cut down because I'm not used to the short stories. Oh, there he is.
Aw.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I say there's a minute left, it can be panic inducing sometimes. I get it. But
It
the other
is.
idea, of course, is that these are just supposed to be things that you have to work with, that, it could be the beginning of an entire short story. I know that later during the term, some people will use pieces of what they wrote and add it to their short story for 529. Like, this is just to get ideas on the page. It doesn't have to be complete.
I like never do the contained story. I always end up with half of something because I want to try to apply it to like my novel stuff. So
Yeah.
don't ever worry about getting like a complete arc. It's great if you
Yeah.
can, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, Jesse. Thank you. And yes, Colleen, the laundry detergent. It's so
That's,
funny.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that that was sort of the thing that broke the spell.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think everybody's families usually used a very specific laundry detergent. So it'll be Gain or Tide or whatever your family
Mhm.
uses, right?
Mhm.
Eco,
Right.
whatever. And yeah, it's soothing, it's comfort. It's somebody has washed your clothes and taken care of you, or washed your sheets and made your bed. Or yeah. I thought that was a perfect detail too. Anything else? All right. Who's next?
Yes, I can go. I wasn't really sure if there was a writing prompt or not, and then like it went to, and I was just sitting there, so I was like, I don't know what to write about. Um, so I just wrote about what was on my mind at the time.
Am I hearing you say it's brilliant?
I don't know. Um,
Oh, it's always
the
brilliant.
I really got into the fall mindset from what you read from the first part of it. All the descriptions just really made me think of fall, and then I started thinking about what I wanted, and then it says the first drops ping softly, barely audible over the rustle of dying leaves. I snuggled into a blanket and sipped the warm coffee. It felt like a hug spreading down the inside of my body. Another drop, and then more, until a steady patter danced along the tin roof. A gust of wind sent leaves skittering across the landscape, a hint of cinnamon in the air. I sit here just savoring nature's lullaby.
Nice. What do we love about that?
Description of the
Hmm.
rain on the tin roof.
Hmm.
Did anybody else have a hug spread down the inside of their body this morning?
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Mhm.
There's a
The leaves were really evocative. You used it several times, and each time the image was a little bit different, and that was really evocative of the different kinds of leaves there are in the fall. That was
yeah,
really
nice. And Shelby agreed. Yeah. Anything else? This fits, I think, in the category of cozy. Like if you're going to have a cozy
cool.
mystery or a cozy romance or a cozy fantasy, we feel like we just snuggled up on a fall day, and hopefully there's a really good book in front of this person. Yeah, so definitely all the language with like dancing instead of pounding, right? We were encouraged to read this as an utterly positive moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice work, JD. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm
I
the
really
only
want to
one.
hear rain hitting a tin roof right now. That would be awesome.
Oh, I missed it last night. We had it, but I didn't hear it. Who wants to go next?
I did more than 6 sentences, so I
Oh,
don't
no,
think
no,
I did that right.
no, no, it's just 6 minutes. Six sentences was just the premise
Oh,
behind the one we read. You can do whatever you
okay.
want. I
All
forgot to
right. All right.
say, all that matters is that writing happens. That is my
Perfect.
mantra. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I love that. All right, I'll read mine. I
Thanks.
have an easier time talking in front of people and asking questions now. I never used to want to be wrong on or be called on. It terrified me. All those, hang on a second. All those eyes of the pairs waiting and judging, hoping you'd be right so they wouldn't get called on to fix your mistake. I can tell, I can still feel the anxiousness in the inside of my belly, my core getting tighter under the pressure. But those eyes don't stop watching, glaring, praying you're wrong, so that they can snicker at you at your ignorance. Yet also those who show pity, as if you were their favorite pig being sent off to slaughter. I never got them right. I hated school. I hated answering questions and feeling as if that I didn't hear the teacher right, as if she spoke a different language, as if I were dumb. Now I ask the questions and be the open fool. I see the eyes of my peers have changed to that of gratitude instead of pity, that that of relief that they didn't understand either.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very nice. What do we love?
Oh, the pig part got me.
Yeah, that figurative
That was,
language right there
yeah,
worked.
but it was like it really worked. It was really perfect.
I also I loved all of it because you kind of like if you've been through that in your life, you kind of really draw on a connection to like you hear the eyes and you know when you're in that moment you know you constantly feel like the eyes are on you. So when she said eyes several times, it really like caught my attention because that's how you feel at the moment. You just feel like all these eyes are surrounding me. So I really loved it.
Love that for sure. The eyes, especially because she says pairs of eyes, it's almost that unblinking stare, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
And the
mean,
repetition of as if this, as if this, as if that was really
Nice, Lori.
powerful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is a good thing, but like I was kind of back into that feeling because I also hated giving like presentations in the front of class because oh my God, I hate that idea. And like I got that feeling of I'm going to die right in the middle of the classroom and no one's going to do anything. So,
I'm sorry, but yes, no, I
yeah,
still feel that way. Even as a
yeah.
teacher being in front of the class, like I get that moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're watching me on purpose now. And I'm like, breathe. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I love that. They're watching me on purpose.
They're watching me on purpose.
That's great. Yeah.
But also
No, it was
super,
really, it put you right there. Yeah.
yeah. And super nice that you created that character arc I was trying to create with the prompt, where you move from one thing to another, but you can still have that fear. So that turned out really great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice, Gracie. Thank you. I think we have four people that haven't read. This is when I get really dicey.
I'll go.
Thanks,
So
Allison. Okay.
preface it with I am 100% not in creative mode. We had a really bad night last night
It's brilliant.
with with my son, and I had to have a really hard talk. So I'll see if I can read this without getting upset because this is apparently what's on my mind, and I took it as a journal question more so than write something creative. So,
Perfectly
and sorry,
great. And
sorry if it's
tears
been
are
negative and
actually
depressing.
pretty normal. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
They happen here.
Yeah.
Here we go. There are many things I can't do, but I'm forced to do it. And I do it anyway. It's life, and I don't get a choice. I was also trying to think of what to write. Then I went, oops. It's a superpower, masking. Social, people, and having to deal with impolite, entitled, quarreling society, especially certain surroundings that I don't get a choice in. Work life is hard to be forced to adapt, to mask. Living in a new environment, a new state, a different clique was difficult and culture shocking, but I had to adapt to it. It was high school all over again. I hated that. In the end, though you can adapt and mask and assimilate and cope and pretend, it burns you out. It kills the spark inside of you. And the fact that I just had to relay that bit to my child at the precipice of transitioning from young and curious to masking and covering up that curiosity, those questions, that intellect, that analysis, that need to dive deeper, that you have to kill that part of you. Yet try not to kill it too hard that you lose it and lose your entire sense of self. That's survival in this modern society, social society that we've created for ourselves. That's why kids lose their ability to be creative, to be imaginative, to be something other than that drone that school life prepares you for as a puppet in society, where you get up, you prepare, you work and pretend you like it. You come home, you figure out dinner, you go to sleep, you get up, you do it all over again. Time to make the donuts, as I call it, an old Dunkin' Donuts commercial. I don't like that I just had to tell my child the reality of it and prepare him how to mask and make it around the expectations of society and demands of the neurotypicals. We don't fit in. We have to try not to lose ourselves in the process, though.
Nice.
Uh,
That was a lot in 6 minutes.
there was a lot in 6 minutes.
Yeah. What do we love about it? So many great things in there.
The
And
repetition was really good. There were some things that were repeated several times, and there was a lot of like listing, but like, it was really impactful and it worked really well.
yeah, if you had to say this narrator cared about like one thing was bothering the narrator the most, there's one word that kept coming up over and over again.
Hmm. The masking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Having to
mask.
mask seems utterly unfair. Yeah.
It does.
And then a couple people say about doing it all over again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you learn to mask in one place, and this narrator moves to another place, and it's a new system of masking until you find how you fit into the click, right? What else? Did anybody else feel like it was unfair to ask the kid to kill what was inside of him, but don't kill it too hard?
Yeah, I mean it's super relatable too, like we
Yeah.
we all go through that period. I remember telling, my parents that I wanted to be a writer, and my dad's first response was, "Well, make sure you have a realistic plan to back that up." It's kind of the same feeling, you know.
Yeah.
I had the
Yeah, it's
same
unfair, but like we had to do it too, you know?
Yeah.
But our
I had
parents
the
still
same
does.
reaction when I said to my dad that I wanted to be a marine biologist. He goes, "But you can't swim, and
Maybe you,
the labs are going to be too tight for you to get into."
Wow.
yeah, that first kill, right? I mean, that's tough.
Yeah.
So what an amazing piece that really it pierces straight to the heart of something that's painful, and that I believe in a Zoom room full of creatives, I doubt that there's a person here that doesn't closely relate to what you just wrote.
It was a tough night, let me tell you.
I'm so sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grateful for you that you were able to give him the gift of telling him this with the love in your heart, the way that you wrote this, instead of the way many of us encountered it, which was not with love.
Yeah. And I encountered it the same way, being a child in the
Yeah.
80s, but that it's a little different now. But I understand that unfortunately we don't get the choice to keep being who we want to be because of the expectations. And we had a call from the teacher that he was asking too many questions. I'm like, well,
Mhm.
it's not fair, but
No.
that's life. I don't get to ask that at
Yeah.
work. I get to do it sucks. It sucks. So that's why I say I'm
Yeah.
not creative right now. I'm struggling.
I thought that was absolutely creative. There's nothing
Yeah.
nothing about representing like a personal experience in this way. There's nothing about that that's not creative. That was wonderful.
I
And I
agree.
appreciate that you shared it with us. Yeah.
Sometimes
All right.
writing the
Thank you,
feelings
Allison.
out is really therapeutic too. I mean,
Yeah.
I find it really therapeutic to get it out
Bless
there.
you.
See? Yeah, I agree, JD. Like, even though I'm not a therapist, writing these things out does, I think, really help. So, yeah. All right, that was wonderful. Thank you. So we have a few more people. Is there anybody left who wants to read? Lori doesn't.
I want to get to the
Uh,
next prompt, so I'll
Okay.
skip.
all right.
Okay.
I will
And
too. I did not finish it. It took me a little while to think of a thing, and so I only got half done. So that's cool. Let's move on.
okay. And Sarah hasn't gone, but I think that do you want to move on, Sarah? Okay. All right, then share screen. Get us back to this. This is our next one. And it's Departures by Sandra Arnold from Fractured Lit, which is one of the sort of top publications of flash fiction, and it puts out a really great anthology. Who wants to read?
I'll do
Okay.
it again. Okay, do it. Please, Randall. Go, go, go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks, Randall.
Departures by Sandra Arnold. A plane plows through the clouds as she scrubs and cleans the plug holes in the basins and the kitchen sink and the laundry, and another plane plows when she mops the floors and washes the benches and polishes the windows. And another plane plows when she reorders all the cupboards and drawers until finally everything is done. And she can go into her garden where the only sound she hears are birds singing in the trees that her daughter used to climb. And she cuts camellias from the bush her daughter used to love because the blooms were pink. And then she goes back into the house to sit in the glint and the gleam and breathe in the scent of flowers as she recalls her father's fury in the days before Facebook and Zoom and email when she told him she was leaving for the other side of the world. And he roared that her mother had never stopped crying since and insisted she wait until they were dead before she left. But she didn't wait. And she said it was her right to choose her own life. So this morning at the airport, before her daughter departed, she told her to be happy, and they both knew there was Facebook and Zoom and email. And after she waved goodbye, she headed home and scrubbed and cleaned and polished for the rest of the day with the roar of planes inside her head. And now the sun sinks and the sky glows pink, and she drops into a chair in the pink tinged dusk with her eyes closed and a pink camellia held to her cheek.
Nice. Thank you. The one person I could count on to read a piece of this feature, which is Randall.
One
What's
sentence.
the major feature of this piece that you just experienced?
One sentence. Breathless.
One sentence,
Yeah.
breathless. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I thought it was ironic that we were finishing up on the topic last time, and then this, like from the last piece, what people wrote, and this was our next one. So anything that stands out, what would we like to say? We're going to be a little brief just so we can get to writing.
polishing the windows and floors and benches kind of stood out to
Yeah,
me.
like things that we don't always have to wash, but there's clearly a huge cleaning going on, right?
Yeah.
There are multiple points of contrast here between her experience and her daughter's experience, and then between her reaction and her parents' reaction. There's
Hmm.
levels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
bookending things. So you get pieces where you start out one way and all of a sudden in the middle is planted something different. And it's kind of like related to my time to make the donuts. You get up and do it all over again. You're right back at nothing changed. Something changed, but yet nothing changed. Right?
Yeah.
It's that bookending of the repetition of the beginning and the end.
Yeah, very nice. And Colleen's comment to Allison is here at the end, right? She told her to be happy, and they both knew there was Facebook and Zoom and email, which we all know is a very poor crutch. Somebody either will be in contact or they won't be, right? Yeah. So she sends her daughter off with joy when she was sent off with fury, right? Yeah. So this made me want to ask you to write about milestones. They're a part of life, the first day of school, the first sleepover, first day of college, first trip alone. And this can go way into adulthood. I just picked young moments, but nothing is ever the same after you pass one of these milestones, right? We can never go back to being the person we were before we experienced a milestone. So I'm asking you in your writing, remember, just that writing happens is all that really matters. I'm asking you to inhabit the perspective of someone watching someone else go through one of these milestones. And I want you to write what happens. So in this case, the mother is watching somebody else go through this milestone and is thinking of when it happened to herself. So maybe something that works in that vein for you. Does this make sense? Okay, I'm putting the time on. I'll leave this up for just a couple minutes and then I'll leave the screen with y'all. On your marks, get set, right. You have about a minute left. All right, please wrap things up. I know we feel a little rushed this morning, but it's been so great. And I'm glad that everybody's writing. And we'll be a little fast again this time. As a reminder, let's just say it's brilliant. I know there's a lot of background to everything, but we don't get that background when we open up a book and turn to a page. And so it's really fun to just be thrown right into what you're writing. Is there anybody who didn't go last time who would want to go first this time so that we can make sure that different people get heard too?
Do
A
that.
couple, what? You'll go?
I'll go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Your days are ordered now and non-stopping. Today is the same as yesterday and tomorrow. There is no such thing as summer, not as it used to be, long, languorous, hazy days filled with sunshine and nothing. There is no break, no end. It goes on forever now. This is the rest of your life. And you storm at me, you storm at the world. It's unfair. It is. But you begin to carve out time, time not given to you, but that you take, and you learn to move within the constraints.
Wow. My heart. What is that? Who's saying strumming my pain? That's you were strumming my pain.
Ah!
Just
Gloria Gaynor.
Thank you, Sarah. Show of hands for people who the first time you realized that summer didn't exist anymore and nearly died. It was awful. I mean, just awful. Yeah. Anything else we love in this? And I don't mean to be too
The
fast, but
long, languorous, hazy days. I mean, ugh.
Thank you.
wasn't that lovely? Yeah. I put a little commentary in. No such freaking thing as summer anymore because there isn't. What do you think of the way that so there is a narrative arc. How do you like the way she ends it?
it's what?
It's never over.
It's
Yeah,
continuous.
but you
But yeah,
carve
but
out
it does.
time that you take. That's what happens
Hmm.
is you learn how to live within the new normal, right? You
Yeah.
carve out your summer. That would be a way to play with it. You carve out summer any season, right?
Yes.
Maybe. That was really great. And thank you for making my heart hurt so bad. Oh, at least it's fall and I don't feel as bad because there was a season called summer, even if it did not involve long, languorous days. Thanks, Colleen. Who wants to go next? Does either Jesse or Lori want to go? I just want to check in first or Sarah, because none of them went last time.
I'll do it, sure.
Thanks, Jesse.
Okay. Okay. Baby's first blood sacrifice is always hard, but maybe it would have been easier if their parents had gotten off their holier than thou asses and took Corey to a deer stand to hunt. If their daddy, because let's face it, Mama would never ruin their hairspray coif on that gray head of hers to put on a boggin and hunker down in a cold. If he had taken Corey into a tree stand or a blind or even just somewhere at the edge of the woods to watch for a deer, maybe they'd be a little more accustomed to death. And maybe they'd understand that for life to keep going, things had to die. And they'd see that the knife blazoned a crimson trail across the lamb's neck spilled love, not hatred. And they'd know that this wasn't trophy kill, but one done out of survival. Appeasement for God's love and favor and maybe just a little bit of his power. But Corey didn't grow up hunting or even really understanding God. So the second the knife revealed Sinnoh and air whooshed in to begin decay, they ran to the edge of the woods and they threw up. Better out than in, though, and better in the leaves than on the church floor because at least then I wouldn't have to clean it up. This is for the cult story. We're
It's
working through
wonderful.
it. Yeah.
But it could almost stand by itself. I mean, I recognized your character that went and threw up, but
Hmm.
it also could almost stand by itself. Wow.
Possibly. Yeah.
Favorite parts and
Oh,
the
baby's first blood sacrifice. I lost it when you read
Same,
that. It's like, oh.
same.
Mine was for life to keep going, things must die. Like
yeah,
that was powerful. By the way, you have
yeah.
a fantastic like narration voice. So I'm
Yes,
like,
she does.
wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that
She's
one has to be on
narrated
my book.
Amen.
she's narrated like in Microlit Almanac for people who didn't want to read their own work. She's read her work, and I think Sarah, she read yours, didn't she?
Yes, she did very well.
I'm
Yeah.
working
That's
on doing
cool.
narrations for snoozing too, so submit and I'll read your stuff.
Excellent,
Um,
Oh,
Wicked.
excellent.
be careful because she doesn't appear as herself.
Oh yeah, yeah. So she changes her voice like that accent. I mean, Jesse, we don't
And
have time, but it would be amazing to have you go back and read it without the accent because like
it's
you're putting
different.
it on because that's the story. It's a
Yeah.
hillbilly cult story, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and
Exactly.
her name threw me
Whose
off.
name?
Jesse's a
Oh,
different
yeah,
name for her narrator.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you do need to be an audiobook narrator. There's ways.
I
I sent you
agree.
the email, didn't I?
Maybe, possibly. We talked about it.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
look
My
at I'll
friend
look
who
at it.
does it. Yeah. If not, I can find it again because same friend, I can find her. Um, you had that beautiful moment that is so like the moment in, oh, somebody help me out. It's so famous and it just poofed out of my mind. Civil War story. Nicole Kidman played the role in the movie of it, Cold Mountain.
Oh yeah.
In the book Cold Mountain, there's a moment when the woman kills a goat for them to eat. And the lamb in here, it's so like that moment, especially spilled love, not hatred. It was really reminiscent of that for me. It was just beautiful, right?
Yay.
And maybe just a little bit of his power. Yeah. I hope that this makes it into the book. It's pretty great.
We'll see.
Anything else for Jesse? Fantastic as always. Sarah, Lori, do either of you want to read?
Now skip today.
Okay. I'm going to
Not
make you
today
read
for
tomorrow.
me.
Okay, Sarah, sounds fine. Great. Okay, so then Everett, I think you're up.
From the first birthday to the first words meant to be Auntie Nikki, but it came out as Auntie Icky. Watching him learn to ride a bike, knowing you could never, but you are giving him something you could never really have, a chance to grow up with an auntie. And tears fill your eyes as you remember how young you were when you lost that opportunity. Now he's a year away from starting freshman year, and you can't help but wonder how your aunt would react. You would react. Would she be um oh shoot. Would she be in tears like you are now? Or would she telling you you're an old fart? Um uh, oh shoot. Things got really complicated. Um, oh shoot. Sorry, I can't read the rest of it because it got
And
really. Bush.
And I do want to say while she's finding it, this is really normal. Like if you can't read your handwriting, you're in great company.
I was about to say, everybody avert your eyes so she can rethink.
Person, I'm telling you that you are an old fart. Now giving, okay, now I found it. Now giving you a big bear hug before you head off to school. And now you wonder, and now you give that to your nephew. Uh, but you will never know the feeling, but and it kills you, but at least you can give it to somebody else.
Oh, wow. That's
Sorry,
such
I
an
was in
amazing last nine.
the rest of the writing was kind of just really tiny, and I'm like, I can't figure this out.
Well,
well, I,
like your handwriting will reveal what's happening with your emotions too. Sorry, Lori, did I interrupt you?
it's okay. I was in your 529 class, and I know the story you wrote about your aunt who passed away when you were young, so I know the background. And this was really, really touching. And you watching your nephew, but not having your aunt to have watched you go off. I really
Mhm.
liked it.
I was in your
And knowing
529
what you had
class
written
too.
back then, yes, I would say your aunt would have said, "You old fart, go off and
Yep.
conquer the world."
Oh yeah, she would. She'd be like, you're only 15, but you're almost in your 20s and you're an old fart. I'm like, and now I'm almost in my 30s. I'm like, what does that make me? Just a decrepit human?
Yeah, and she's your aunt, like she's a character that has stuck with me. I'm with Lori. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've probably taught a couple hundred 529 students now, and your aunt is in my repertoire of characters for sure. And how cool that you get to be an aunt to somebody else. Like you know how
yeah.
much it meant to you and that you're paying it forward. That's why that last line is so amazing. Anything from anyone else?
Oh, I got one. I'll do this one. Um, she
Oh,
stood in me.
no, yeah, that's fine. I meant anything else for Everett, but yes, you go,
Oh,
and then we'll do JD after you. Absolutely. Let's go.
me? Or wait.
Yep. Go ahead, Allison. Yeah.
Which one is it? Okay. She stood indecisive about what emotion she should be displaying. She was hungry. She was scared. But her mom said never show them fear. So she stood frozen instead. She looked up at the gaunt lady before her with the clipboard in hand, scribbling furiously as she took one last look around, marking all the errors in life she saw on her sheet of worthiness. Her mom didn't pass that test, and now there they stood. And now there she stood, Garfield suitcase in hand, with the few meager things she thought to grab. A striped pair of socks that said, "Today I'm a unicorn," that her dad got her the last Christmas before he left. The lady's eyes flitted about, then focused on her just standing there, twirling the bottom broken seam on her dress. She clung to the unicorn stuffy, pressing its plush fur to her chest and burying the bottom of her face in it, leaving only her eyes full of liquid, staring back pleadingly, silently at the clipboard lady. "It's time to go. Tell your mother goodbye." The girl's tears were hot and dripping now, but she stood immobile as her mother moved from the shadows where she watched, still drunk from the night before, hungover but conscious of the situation. The girl stood frozen and let her mom wrap her arms around her. Shock had set in, but the lady just stood there, unrelenting, looking down her nose, assuring them that the foster home would take great care of her, better than her mom could. That's it.
Yeah. Well, this is a topic
Oh,
that fits in with this group. What's our favorite parts of this difficult story?
the Garfield suitcase. That was very telling. But also like things like it was like a became like a list of things that really did a great job of characterization. The Garfield suitcase, the stuffy unicorn, the socks, and then the thread that had come undone from the dress, the trim on the bottom, like all of that did such a great job of bringing that girl to life and her situation as well. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So it gives us a lot of clues about the character and her age, right?
Hmm.
I ran daycare for 9 years, and 90% of my kids were recollected. And literally all they had was a bag full of their belongings. So I used to see them quite a bit, and this hit a little home.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a 6-minute writing, the next thing I'm going to say is only because I would hope that you would go back and do some revision on this because it's really good and full of such great detail. What you have is the story being told from the perspective of, I would imagine, about a 6 to 8 year old child. And yet the observations are super adult. And so, one of the things you would want to do with these fantastic, like all the errors in life she saw on her sheet of worthiness, that is the adult looking back and judging that woman, right? And so, what would be super great when you work on this is to take the thing like eyes full of liquid, which, she would just be tears if she was 6 to 8 years old, and allow us to understand that this experience is being filtered through an adult because it's got some just knockout lines in it, right? And the observations need to be said, but they're being said by somebody who really understands the scene for sure. Yeah. Does that make sense?
I have another one like this that I'm actually working on and going to submit, but you nailed it. It is told from the I'm looking back, and it's a moment of change. It's a moment of life altering.
Yeah. Well, I really look forward to reading it for sure. That was fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so wonderful work. I think JD wants to go next. Is that right? Okay.
Um, you'd said about milestones, and that kind of stuck into me. So I wrote this, and this is the inspiration. The coin feels heavy in my palm. It carries the weight of immense gratitude. I trace my thumb over it, feeling the engraving, gift of sight. The coin bridges the gap between loss and hope. My loss, their hope. Do they see hints of my father's warmth in everyday sights? A sunset's glow, a child smiles, words on a page, all made possible by his final act of generosity. This coin is a reminder that even in death, my father still continues to give. I have the comfort that a part of him is still here.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Um, I don't fully understand the coin, but I really understand the emotion that's happening in this piece. I just don't understand what it means. Did he die serving somewhere or?
When he died, they donated his corneas to give
Oh
to
my
Oh,
God.
wow.
this is a thank you for him giving the gift of sight.
Oh,
Oh my God.
wow. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I think you probably said cornea and I heard coin when you said cornea in
I
there. So
said
my
coin.
apologies. Did you? Okay. All right. Um, so what a beautiful bridges, loss and hope. My loss, their hope. That should have been my immediate clue, right? I should
Mhm.
have figured it out right there. Definitely. What else do we love?
I loved the juxtaposition between the coin feels heavy and it bridges the loss and hope, which is a spanning thing and a lighter thing. Like a bridge is, lifted from the ground, and that was a really interesting positioning of those two things.
Yeah. And now, and I mean, so like if you were to go back and edit on this, absolutely these things that people are seeing, oh my gosh, how profound. A
Yeah.
sunset glow, a child's smile, words on a page, right? They just take on so much more meaning. So you would want to just brushstroke in a little bit more so that we understand. Like you don't have to hide what that coin stands for because everything just comes alive knowing that. It's really great. And I should add, as I'm saying this moment, anything that's written here is absolutely fair game for class. So if you find that something you've done in here is working for you, use it. I'd love to see what kind of edits you've done and that kind of thing. This is not snoo. This is not self-plagiarism. This is creative work that, you've spent on time outside of class. So you're welcome to use it. JD, that was beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. All right. We have a few people who haven't gone this time. Are you interested in going?
I'll go.
Okay. And Gracie, you don't want to. So everybody help me. I think Randall's our last one then. I can't believe I'm going to wrap this up by 11. Yes. It's a miracle.
Damn it.
All right.
Thanks, Randall.
So, is there a girl you like? My son is silent, almost as if he regrets bringing up girls in the first place. Yeah. Well, are you going to talk to her? Eh, my friend likes her too. I can see the cute and the painful mix on my son's face, as juxtaposed and non sequitur as his childish smile and a field of acne. He looks at the cow fields and pastures as we drive home, but his gaze is focused on the frenetic, giggling girl that he has third period in band with. Empathy pokes at my heart, and I remember my own version of the classmate crush. Years before, but the same halls and the same rooms, the same bell calling us to seats where we cast our first curious glances, feel our first bruises formed beneath the unrequited moments of first love. I pat his shoulder and smile. I'm here, but some things must be endured, at least partially, alone.
Mhm. Oh, beautiful.
Mhm.
I'm still typing. Yeah. Oh, this moment. What a milestone. My heart. Ah, shredding it. All of you. This is incredible. Okay, what do we love?
That last
Uh,
line.
yeah.
I'm already kind of emotional because of my piece, but like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it kind of just makes you just kind of sit there and go, oh, there's nothing you can do. He's just got to go through it himself. So,
Well, and as a parent, it's a very weird place to be to want to protect your child, but knowing they have to go through this alone. You're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm going through that with my son right now. And who me, oh my, I'm like, it's a weird tug and exciting, but nerve-wracking at the same time. And you hope that they like him back, but at the same time, you don't want him to grow up and you're like, go away, don't do this.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't had children, but I will say that all of us have gone through something like this. And so we know what it means to say they have to endure it alone, right? Oh, and it's gonna hurt at some point. It's gonna hurt. Oh, seriously, my heart. It's just um then some beautiful things happen. So the topic is really great, but the way that like Randall sort of has a superpower for figurative language and for naturally bringing in alliteration and that kind of thing. So his gaze is focused on the frenetic giggling girl. We know that he's gazing out the window but not seeing what's out there. But you said that without saying it. Um, I mean, you did say it, but whatever. Classmate crush is amazing alliteration. And then this cool thing, and who even has this? I was even thinking to myself when you were saying like the same halls, the same room, the same, first, 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 first. That repetition was so incredible. But even where I grew up, if I had stayed home, they knocked down my high school and built a different one. So the fact that this kid is in the exact same place that you were, oh my gosh. You mentioned something this weekend about him swinging a bat on the exact same baseball or softball, I don't know which
Mm-hmm.
field that you were on.
Mm-hmm.
That must just blow your mind on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to
And
be
yet you
awesome.
can write about it so well. JD, I'm sorry.
So that's got to be an awesome thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah. Gives you a lot of amazing material.
I mean, Randall's writing is always amazing. So every time we get something from him, it's always like, how the heck did you write that in 6 minutes? But it's like blown away every time.
Yeah. And quite often we don't get the realistic stuff. And so this is particularly fun today just because your other stuff is amazing too. But the stuff that's realistic fits into a huge range of flash journals and gives you some opportunities to submit in different places. Y'all, as usual, man, I'm dragging myself around on Saturday morning with my cup of coffee and I'm like, oh, why do I do this? And this is why. This is why I do this. You're amazing. You're inspirational. I'm so excited to have met a couple new faces, and I am, as is evidenced. Oh, I'm going to just stop recording so that I can